Ras Ivai Tafari, advocate of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. The time is now. The time is right for the lion to tell its own story. It is the time for the lion to roar. Rastafari.
What do you have to tell the people about Rastafari?
Light to the world. The King of Kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's my ruler? Hey yo! Yeah. Hear them high, hear the Black King on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them come without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill. The lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go to tribulation, I and I strive, see sufferation, I and I still rise. That's why we tell them, in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come if you tell them, in a Toronto, straight at it. Well, Haile Selassie I is the Almighty. And this is the Charles March Kwasi. Yeah, and this is the legendary king of these, from foreign and overseas. Listen. Well, even when a sound boy fall, cause him heart full up with grudge. In the sound clash we stand tall, and we will kill a sound boy with gloves. And even when the people start ball, when them see them favorite sound get judged. When the dance hall beat down them wall, them a say a king of these them love. I think I found the sound of a lifetime. Them killing whether day or the night time. The Almighty I made them light shine, and unto I them sound was a lifeline.
As I celebrate the 131st Earth Light physical in the flesh, the coming forward of I Irata, I King, I Jah, the universal paymaster Kadamawi Haile Selassie. Yes, it's a mighty time. It's for Rastafari people, and I love coronation, but I love July 23rd same way. And as I meditate on the birth of His Majesty, the birth of Lidj Tafari, the coming forward, you know, it puts I in the space that I call his birth mother, his mother, Ishimabet Ali Abba Jifar. The book that I wrote some time ago, a few years ago, is a book that gives a little history on His Majesty's mother. As ones know, I've blocked many times on many different platforms that it was an assignment that was given to I by Kadamawi Haile Selassie. I was asked to write this book and to do this work, and I went forward and gave it an earnest effort. I hope in times to come, you know, I will touch down in Ethiopia, in Hara, you know, maybe within the next year or so is my intention, and possibly do further research on Yeshimabet. Go to her place of resting in Hara, in the walled city, and do an addendum to the book. But in the interim, a little background on His Majesty's mother. Not much is known about her. There's a dearth in the research on her. Not much is found at all. I've looked at the Historical Society of Wollo, which is based in Maryland here. I've gone through Smithsonian Institute and worked with the librarian for African Affairs, East African Affairs, specifically for Ethiopia. I've visited the region of Wollo, going through Kombolcha Airport, touching down in Desi, and then almost 4 hours to the Wollo region, which is the region of Yeshimabet. And what I've learned about His Majesty's mother is that she grew in the household of royalty. Her father was a Wollo chieftain, And her mother was the wife of His Majesty's, I would say His Majesty's, it was Ras Dargay. And Ras Dargay is the son of Ras Haile Selassie. And Haile Selassie is the father of Tananawar Haile Selassie, and she is the mother of Ras Makonnen. And Ras Makonnen, we know, is the father of Kadamawi. So Ras Dargay is the brother of Tananawar Haile Selassie, who is His Majesty's grandmother. So she would then be the uncle of Ras Makonnen, so His Majesty's great uncle. Yeshimabet's mother was married to Ras Dargay. So Yeshimabet grew in the household of the ruling family of the time. So Haile Selassie was the king of Showa. This is Ras Makonnen's grandfather. And she grew in this household, and her uncle, or his Ras Makonnen's uncle, when Yeshimabet became the age of 12, around 12, Ras Makonnen gave her in marriage to his nephew, not Ras Makonnen, I pray thee, Ras Dargay gave her to his nephew, Ras Makonnen, to be his wife. She was a child bride, as was the traditions in Ethiopia, customs and traditions at that time. She was about 12 years old when she wed to Ras Makonnen. Yeshimabet would have been the mother of 10 children, His Majesty Lidj Tafari being the 9th. She lost 8 pregnancies prior to his birth, and she transitioned with the 10th pregnancy 2 years post His Majesty's birth. In March of 1894 was the time of her transition. Contrary to much of the word sound that I got in the early Iowa, it was not at the birth of His Majesty, but at the youth that came 2 years after His Majesty. And I also heard that, there was no family and no one remained, and, it's sealed with her. But His Majesty, for some time, grew in the household of Yeshimabet's mother, and also an aunt, the mother's sister. In his book, in His Majesty's autobiography, My Life and Ethiopia's Progress, His Majesty speaks about, as he travels for his affairs, his responsibilities, various roles of leadership, and I know His Majesty holds many titles. As he traveled away from Hara, he was never concerned about the affairs of Hara, because they were being taken care of by his very capable grandmother. This is the mother of Yeshimabet Ali Abba Jifar. And the history for that side of the family, the maternal side of His Majesty's family, I learned is Gurage. The grandmother comes from Gurage roots, hence the title of the book, Gurage, 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 the story of a Willow princess, Wazero Yeshimabet Ali Abba Jifar. Gurage was also a term in Ethiopian culture or Ethiopian history that would be equivalent to a porter at a hotel. So when guests would arrive, and various ones would arrive at the hotels, they would just come out and say, Gurage, Gurage, because this was the work of the Gurage. His Majesty, during His Majesty later changed the term from Gurage to another term. And I suppose it has to do with the Gurage lineage of his grandmother, who he absolutely adored, his maternal grandmother, Yeshimabet's mother. I'll touch a little bit, just for a couple of minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, on the birth of Lidj Tafari. This is a
Feel free, feel
well-known
free.
word sound, but it never ceases to amaze I, because July 23rd, 1892, came after a 4-year drought, a drought that began in Ethiopia in 1888, a
Yes.
drought that was called the Evil Days
The careful
because the
Ken.
drought, Kefuken,
Yes,
because
I.
the drought was it was a drought that took a lot of lives, not just the livestock and agriculture, but a lot of lives. I always think about the timing, the timing of the drought and the timing of Kadamawi's birth. And I'll read from the book. I'll just touch maybe two pages or so. The rains had begun in Hara that July day. And this is speaking, I believe, July 23rd, or maybe the eve of,
Yeah.
as it goes into the morning, maybe the 22nd. The rains had begun in Hara that July day. Great clouds were again amassing on flat-topped Kombolcha. A few miles out from the town, the governor, which is Ras Makonnen, had his country villa at Ijersagoro on the Kombolcha Road. And it was a wattle and daub type house with a certain Indian appearance about its outside veranda. The forecourt was crowned with quests from near and far. Now, this property is still actually there. It's in disrepair, but it actually still sits there and it's visible online. So I'll probably send an image to the eye to just match that the eye can show it as I
Yes.
block this
Yes.
evening.
Yes.
Yes, so when a woman is in travail, and they're speaking of Yeshimabet, it's time for her to give birth. Other women will go to her and salute her, saying, "Didst thou pass the night well? May Mary keep near thee." When the travail is over, they will wish her well, saying, "Mary, Mary, restore thee with honor." Then, when the child is born, the woman may raise the cry of joy. Mary is hearkening, nor will she need much aid. The glad father will fire his rifle, if such is found, and drawing his sword will stretch it across the door for a space, while the old women raise up the babe to watch it. Before 1 hour has passed, butter will be placed in his mouth, and the mother will lie tight, swathed in a length of cloth, lest her back all of her. Some such scene we can imagine in that country house near Hara. The arrival of woman after woman to give her loyal greeting, and to gather around the mother's bed to discuss how soon the babe will be born. Countless stories exist about the birth of Lidj Tafari. Most are unverifiable, and others are grounded in oral traditions. This is one recollection. On the first day, a stern-faced nobleman kept vigil outside of the round house of dried earth and ash, and it had a conical thatched roof of wattle wood. I'm going to skip through a little bit.
Yes. Go ahead.
There was, a gun bearer stood behind him, cradling the man's fine rifle in a scarlet cotton sheath, holding it high above the swerving dust. Farther back from the pair, so these are two that are standing there with their rifles, and further back from the pair, fanned out in a wide half circle. So let I get a visual for that vibration. The two were standing with their rifles and their hands in position in the event that they need to fire, and fanned out behind them in a wide sphere, right? A wide half circle upon the sloping hillock was a large contingent of soldiers in ceremonial dress. Now, this is the birth of Lidj Tafari. Yes, Ras Makonnen is the governor of the region. He's the governor of Hara. But listen to the pomp and the circumstance.
Yes.
Right? Each of them, each of those that were fanned out in the wide half circle are holding, they're grasping a loaded carbine, which is a form of weaponry or something.
Yes.
Beyond this mass of men were tight clusters of peasants, prostrate and in prayer. So we have the two that are in front. Behind that pair, we have the wide fan of ones and ones, all holding the loaded carbine. And behind them are the peasants, all prostrate and in prayer. The torrid breezes from the desert carrying them fervently as they chanted Nimas, which are Zimas, I pray thee, which are Ises, and in the cool recesses of the house. Inside, the physicians administered to the mother under the watchful gaze of priests, clutching long malimiyas, which are prayer sticks, keeping their heads bowed, their eyes averted. The servants fulfilled all requests quickly and quietly, but with extravagant care, knowing their very lives depended on it. Now, you know, when I rate on this word sound, Yeshimabet had lost 8 children already.
Yes.
So I definitely know this 9th, this birth of Lidj Tafari, this is the prophesied birth that is coming. 8 children had gone before. It could easily have been a 9th one and no one's life would be in danger. But I block it right here now. They took extreme care, knowing that their very lives depended on their serving their mistress well on this momentous occasion. The mother was in the final stages of labor as they forced back impulses to panic. The servants almost failed to hear the sputtering whimpers as the babe emerged from the womb, his tiny body steaming slightly. The awful tension exploded with a shrill bawling from the tawny male infant, and all hands concentrated on preparing the child for inspection by his father. This is Ras Makonnen is going to come forward now. The servant's eyes blurred with tears of relief as they washed him, anointed him with fine oils, and daubed his thin lips with melted blessed butter. And their ears rang with the din of rifle reports as hundreds of guns saluted from every valley the nativity of Tafari Makonnen, the son of Rastafari, the son of Ras Makonnen of Hara under Menelik II, and Makonnen's wife was Zero Yeshimabet.
Well, for unto us a son was born and a child was given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called the Wonderful Counselor, Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Them called him Lidj Tafari. When he was born, rain fall from sky. Them called him Lidj Tafari. When he was grown, in airplanes he fly. They call him Lidj Tafari. The lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Them call him Lidj Tafari. Read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Then born near the city of Harar, the inspiration from Bob Marley's guitar. People crowd him like some big superstar. It no matter if England or Cote d'Ivoire, no matter if you're brown or black like a tar. Haile Selassie I fi end all tribal war. A time fi gather Mount Zion, fi drive solar car from the car straight to Zanzibar. Who we are, the sons of Lidj Tafari. When he was born, rain fall from the sky. Lidj Tafari. When he was grown, in airplanes he fly. Lidj Tafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Lidj Tafari, read the Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Royal governor from the age of 13 years. Leave the palace, fi go back in a school with him peers. He's the head without fear, he's one to be revered. When them call his name, then the heathen scare. Plus the priest concerned, and him teachers concerned. Cause all this little youth want fi do is just learn. But he wait his turn, till him turn the chess match. The people rejoice when they crown as the Rasta call him. Lidj Tafari, when he was born, rain fall from the sky. Lidj Tafari, when he was grown, in airplanes he fly. Lidj Tafari, the lion break the chain, weep not, don't cry. Lidj Tafari, read your Revelation chapter 5 verse 5. Well, Ras Makonnen call a meeting with all him general them. Say him funeral a come and him have something fi tell them. Him say, we fight together since the days of Adawa. Him say, protect my son and help him unite Africa. Well, him generals, them start cry when them hear this sound. Them say your wishes are come and then bow down to the ground. When him funeral they come, it shock the whole town. Fi see this little youth, him have a army surround, they call him